What's up, cool kids? John here from What's Johnny Watching. Well, here we are at the start of August, and I finally got the rest of my order in from Barnes & Noble for the 50% off of the Criterion collection. Now, wow, I have really let myself go. I need to shave or something. I'm starting to look like Santa Claus here. Anyway, I'm here to show you guys, I picked up 17 titles for my collection. Now, I've shown some of these off. I had a watch along, hang out in the hall with my wife, April. I showed some of these titles off then. I was really debating on whether or not holding them off till I got the rest of my Barnes & Noble order in, or just showing them right then and there. And April said, just go ahead and show them off. So I did, but I am going to show you guys everything that I picked up for the 50% off sale from Barnes & Noble. Now, if this is your first time to my channel, I want to say thank you for checking it out. And if you like what you see, if you're into physical media, especially if you're into the Criterion collection, go ahead and throw a like down there and hit that subscribe button. And also throw a comment in there, because I love engaging with people who watch my stuff. I always try to get back. If you leave a comment, I always try to get back and answer the comments. So, let me show you guys what I did pick up from my Barnes & Noble. Now, the order that I had to place, let me give you a little backstory on it. All Barnes & Nobles are different when it comes to actually having everything in the Criterion collection. Now, I've seen some videos on here where they've got a wall of Criterions. Well, my local Barnes & Noble, it's been reduced down to one shelf. Minus, if you've been in a Barnes & Noble, they have these little slots on the wall. They'll put 2 or 3 titles. Well, mine has some of those little slots on the wall, but it's just been condensed down to one shelf. So a lot of the titles that I went in there looking for, I wasn't interested in, so I had to order them from barnesandnoble.com. But I still got the 50% off, which is great. So I'm going to show you guys what I did pick up, and I'm going to go in order of spine number, which would be a lot easier for me. So starting off with the first one, I have seen this movie, but I've only seen it once, and that's when I was a kid. When I was growing up, sometimes our local Fox affiliate would show these kind of like horror movies or sci-fi movies around 10, 11 o'clock at night on the weekends. And my mother was a big fan of this movie, and my brother and I had never seen it, and she said, watch this, I think you'll like it. And I did like it, but I've only seen it once, so I had to have it to my collection. And it is spine number 91. It's Steve McQueen's first leading role, and it's The Blob. I loved this movie the first time I saw it, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. And I was surprised that it actually had a Criterion Blu-ray release. So now I have this one to go along with the 1988 remake, which is very good. If you haven't seen it, you really need to check it out. But I can't wait to finally check this out again. It's got a new 4K digital restoration, and it's from 1958, I believe, and it's a great science fiction movie. And I know they made a sequel to it. Larry Hagman, who you all, I'm sure, probably know, played J.R. Ewing in Dallas, and he was also in I Dream of Jeannie. He directed a sequel to it. I haven't seen it. I didn't even know there was a sequel till last year. I think Kino Lorber put that out. But that's my first title. I'm going to move on to my second one. I have never seen any of this director's films in his filmography. This is also the first film of his that I've added to my collection, and I mean, a lot of people say it's one of the best films about film that's ever been made, and it's spine number 140. It's Federico Fellini's 8½. I have heard nothing but great things about this. I have never seen this before, but it's got Marcello Mastroianni in it, and he plays a director whose project that he's working on is just collapsing around him, and I guess it's along with his life. I mean, this also has a new transfer on it. It's chock full of special features. But more importantly, it's from Federico Fellini. He's one of the greatest directors in film history. And I would just be remiss if I didn't at least check out one of his films. And I'm glad I picked this one up. Now the next one there's been a remake of this. I've seen the remake, but I've never seen the original. And it's Spy Number 182. It's Sam Peckinpah's classic, Straw Dogs. I don't know what has prevented me from watching this original Straw Dogs. I've seen the remake. I thought the remake was okay. But, you know, if you haven't seen Straw Dogs, I'm not going to say, you know, it's better than the remake one, because since I haven't even watched this yet, you see it's still in the wrapper. But if it's a lot like, you know, the remake, which I'm assuming that it is, it's, oh God, it's, you know, according to the back of this, you know, it's Peckinpah's most controversial film. Dustin Hoffman and Susan George are a married couple. You know, Susan George is British, and they moved from America to her hometown where she grew up in England. And they're having some like housework done, and the people who are there are like leering at her, and it kind of intimidates her husband. And what happens? It descends into this. They brutalize both Amy and David, that's the main characters, and discovers how far he'll go to protect his home. And I know there's one scene in this movie, because they have it in the remake, which is involving a bear trap, but I can't wait to check this out. Now the next film I have shown on here before, it was released in 1941, Spy Number 214, and it's All That Money Can Buy. It is I guess it's an adaptation of the classic Faustian tale of where a person sells his soul to the devil for fame and fortune. Whereas in this one, Jabez Stone, he's a farmer. He's kind of down on his luck, and he sells his soul to the devil for fame and fortune. The devil in here, he doesn't really go by the devil. He goes by Scratch, or Mr. Scratch. And he gives him, 7 years. He said, all right, you give me your soul, I'll give you, all this fame and fortune for 7 years. Now, once the 7 years is up, I'm going to come and collect. So Jabez, he really doesn't. He said, fine, I got all this money, I'll do whatever I want. As the 7 years go by, he becomes slowly estranged from his friends, his family. He starts to realize, all of this money that he's building up, it's coming at the cost of his friends and the people that live in the town with him. So he realizes it's not what it's cracked up to be. So he tries to get out of the deal, and the devil says, look, I'll give you back your life. I'll take everything away, but I want the soul of your firstborn son. And I know I'm going into spoilers here. He's not going to do that. So he goes to an old family friend who's the famous orator, Daniel Webster. And at the very end, there is this courtroom proceeding where it's Daniel Webster versus Scratch, aka the devil. And they fight over Jabez's soul. So I'm not going to give away the ending of it. But this is a new 4K digital restoration, I believe, with the help of UCLA, and the special features on here. They talk about all the title changes that they had. There was like 3 title changes. They had All That Money Can Buy was one. The Devil and Daniel Webster was one. And this is a really, really great movie, and an amazing performance from Walter Houston, who plays Scratch, the devil. And it also won an Academy Award for Best Original Score. And it's from Bernard Herrmann, who I'm sure a lot of you out there knows. That's the guy who I believe he did the score for Citizen Kane, and he also did the score for Psycho. So yep, this is Spine 214, All That Money Can Buy. The next one is another one I've shown on here. I still haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I love this director. It's David Cronenberg's Videodrome from 1983. When April and I, when we were doing our hangout in the hall, she really loved, the case. Long live the new flesh. But she really loved the case. I still need to check this out. I may watch this once this video is done. But this is it, number 248. Now this next one, I know there is a 4K release of it, but when it comes to Criterions, I will pick up the Criterion over a studio 4K release. It's just how I am. Criterion is my favorite boutique label. I have more Criterion titles than I have of Arrow or Vinegar Syndrome or Kino Lorber. So I will go to Criterion first, and if I absolutely love that film, then I might pick up the studio release of the 4K. So my next one, Spine number 821, Stanley Kubrick classic, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. I've only seen this once, and I saw it about 20 years ago. From what I can remember this, it's very funny. Peter Sellers is amazing in this. I think he plays 3 or 4 different characters in this. George C. Scott's in this. But again, it does have a 4K release, but I'll always pick the Criterion over this. And it's got a digital transfer on this, digital 4K transfer, chocked full of special features. And I can't wait to dig into this because, it's been 2 decades since I've seen this. So I'm glad to add this to my collection from 1964, Spine number 821, Dr. Strangelove. This next one, I've shown it off before, but I'll do it again. Spine number 838 from 2006, Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth. Again, this also has a 4K release, but I'm a Criterion snob. I love my Criterion titles. This is a 2K. 2K really, it's not as good as 4K. But I love Criterion, and I'm glad to add this to my collection. I've only seen bits and pieces of this because there's a character in there who has eyes in the palm of his hand and does that. It just creeps me the hell out. But I can't wait to check this out. This next one is one of the greatest films that's ever been made. It's on the AFI's Top 100 list. I believe it was also the first X-rated film to win Best Picture. Spine number 925 from 1969, John Schlesinger's Midnight Cowboy. From what I remember of watching this, I was blown away by Dustin Hoffman's performance as Rizzo. There's a scene in this where he and John Boyd are walking across the street and a car's coming, like I think it's a cab or something. And it like slams on the brakes, and Hoffman slams on the hood and says, "Hey, I'm walking here, I'm walking." Back to the Future 2, when Marty's crossing the street and he hits the car, "I'm walking here." And he took it straight from Midnight Cowboy. But Midnight Cowboy, if you haven't seen it, it's, from what I can remember of it, John Boyd's character comes to, I think it's New York, and he wants to try to become like a male prostitute. There's some trauma that he experienced years prior, I believe, in Texas with the, I believe he and his girlfriend, I think it was his girlfriend, was sexually assaulted. And so he moves out to, New York, and he ends up kind of buddying up with Dustin Hoffman's character. And, just the camaraderie between those two is what really sells the movie. And it's got a heartbreaking ending to it. I'm not going to reveal it, but if you've seen it, then you know what I'm talking about. All I have to mention is the bus ride. This is an amazing film. I do need to watch this again. This thing is chock full of special features, and it's a screenwriters. We got a little special about the screenwriter. Commentaries from the director, video essays. and it's just great. And they also there's an interview with John Voight on the David Frost show on here. It's just great. I'm glad to add it to actually have this Criterion to my collection. Again, $9.25, Midnight Cowboy. This next one, I have shown it off before. I recently rewatched it, and it still holds up. It's still one of the best comedies that's ever been made. Spy number 950 from 1959, Billy Wilder's classic. Some Like It Hot. What else can I say about this? It's got Marilyn Monroe in it, and you have the two lead characters, Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. I'm going to kind of give a little description of it, but Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are like kind of jazz musicians. This just take place in the 1920s, kind of like during Prohibition. They witness a mob hit, and they go on the run, and they feel like the only way that they could be safe is if they join an all-girls jazz club. Who, they're scheduled to play, I think, a hotel or something in Miami. So they have to dress in drag and try not to, let everybody know that they're men. So they have to pretend that they're women for the entirety of this trip. And Marilyn Monroe's on the train with them on their ride down to Florida, and while they're at the hotel. And just with Marilyn Monroe being who she is, I mean, there's no way you can continue maintaining that illusion that I'm a girl with Marilyn Monroe around, because she's Marilyn Monroe. But Jack Lemmon really sells this. He's the one who makes this one of the best comedies. Just his reactions to everything. He gets proposed to, and he's just walking around with these instruments, shaking them around and everything. And the last line in the movie is still a classic. It's one of the best lines that's ever been uttered in film. Nobody's perfect. But in here, you get bunch of bonus features. They have one about Billy Wilder. He shows up on the Dick Cavett show in 1982. They have conversations with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. And there's a running gag in this when they're talking about production. Is like Marilyn Monroe, she had problems, on set, and Jack and Tony would make bets to see if she would show up or if she would screw up or anything like that. They knew that Marilyn had problems, but they absolutely loved her. They loved working with her, and so did Billy Wilder. So that was my next one that I got. Another one that I picked up, I'd only seen this once before, and I thought it was an okay movie. But I rewatched it recently, and it turns out to be one of the best action movies and best war movies I've ever seen. It's Spy number 1027 from 1963. We have The Great Escape. One of the best casts that's ever been in films. You have Sir Richard Attenborough in here, Steve McQueen, James Garner, Charles Bronson, Donald Pleasance, James Coburn. You've got Academy Award winners in here. And it's about, it's based on a true story. I didn't know it was based on a true story when I first saw it 20-some years ago. I didn't know. And it's about these prisoners who are, they're captured behind enemy lines or whatever in World War II. And apparently they're the ones who escape a lot. So they try to take all the ones who escape a lot, put them into one place. Now, that's not real smart, because they're going to try to break out again. If you have the best escape artists in one place, you think you're going to contain them? But this film, I did not know that it was how close they kind of stayed to the true story of this. And it's really, it doesn't really end on a happy note, but you understand why it ended the way that why they didn't deviate from the source material. I mean, this is absolutely great. There's interviews on here. This is I think it's a new digital 4K transfer. I know there is a 4K of this out there, but again, it's Criterion. I'm going to pick it up. Yeah, there's a bunch of interviews on here, and there's a commentary from the director John Sturgis, I think he also made The Dirty Dozen. So yeah, The Great Escape. This next one, I had only seen like 5 minutes of it, and I wasn't interested in it. I did not want to watch it. That was like 15 years ago. But it's one of the greatest romantic comedies that's ever been made. And I thought to myself, all right, I'll check it out. And it won a couple Academy Awards. It's one of the best that's ever been made. It's Spine number 1056 from 1987. Norman Jewison's Moonstruck. Again, I had never seen this before, all the way through. I got bored with it the first time I saw it. I was like, I don't want to watch this, and I just changed the channel. But as I got older and got into films more, I began to appreciate other things, and I thought, I need to check this out. And I mean, these are just great, especially the parents. To give you a breakdown of the film, Cher's character is engaged. She's unlucky in love because her first husband got hit by a car or hit by a bus. So she's kind of unlucky in love. So she finally accepts Danny Aiello's proposal. While they're out eating, he just says, will you marry me? He doesn't even get down on his knees. And she said, you have to get down on your knees. So he gets down. And he goes away because his mother's ill, but he wants her to contact his brother, played by Nicolas Cage, because there's some bad blood between them. And Nicolas Cage in this, I mean, it's raw talent, but you can see that the talent's there, but it's raw. It hasn't been fleshed out enough, if that's the right phrase. He has this great performance where he's lost his fingers due to a slicer accident, which he blames on his brother. And what happens is Cher slowly falls for Nicolas Cage, and she's like in this love. I mean, she's in love now, and her parents and all of her family members, they say because of the moon, there's a full moon out there, it makes you do crazy things. And the best parts about this movie, for me personally, after watching this, it's her parents, Vincent Gardenia and Olympia Dukakis. Olympia Dukakis won Best Supporting Actress, and Cher won Best Actress in this. But the parents are the best parts about this movie. But talking about the release itself, I mean, you have interviews with the screenwriter John Patrick Shanley, who won an Academy Award for this. You have interviews with Cher and Nicolas Cage and Vincent Gardenia and Olympia Dukakis. Now, they're all from 1987, I guess, when they were doing the press junket. But I mean, it's really great. I mean, I'm glad I finally did get to watch it. The next title, I haven't seen this yet, but it's Spine number 1054 from 2019. Best Picture winner from Bong Joon-ho, and that's Parasite. I've heard nothing but great things about this. I think I maybe have seen 3 minutes of it, but I think it was in the middle, so I didn't want to watch it from there on. I have to watch from the very beginning. I know there's a 4K of it, but I mean, come on. This Criterion just it looks better. This next one, I have heard amazing things about, but I've never really wanted to watch it. I'm really not interested in this, this particular actor. But after hearing a glowing review from Bob over at Bob's Blu-rays, I'm like, you know what? I'll put Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio back, and I'll pick this one up, and it's spine number 1151 from 2019. It's Sound of Metal. I haven't checked this out yet. I know it's a 4K release, and it stars Riz Ahmed, and from what I know about it, he's a drummer in a band who starts to slowly lose his hearing. That's the only thing I know about it. But I had to pick it up. Bob says it's amazing. A lot of people say it's amazing. I thought, why not? I'll check it out. Now this next one has been around, I think it was released either earlier this year or late last year. I think it was earlier this year. It's from Martin Scorsese, spine number 1185 from 1985, and that's After Hours. I started to watch this before I started making this video, and I was like, you know what? I need to make the video first and then go back to finish watching it. You know, I love Martin Scorsese. I've never seen this, but apparently all of this takes place in one day about a guy who's trying to get back home after like a failed meeting with a girl or something, and all kinds of things he gets involved with just trying to get home. I was glad to finally add this to my collection. Now this next one, I've seen bits and pieces of it when it first came out, but I'm a fan of the director, and obviously I love the actress in it. It's from 1995, spine number 1213, and it's To Die For. This came out earlier this year, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until the Criterion sale, because I know it'll probably be around, because when it first came out, a lot of people picked it up. So I waited until the sale. Thank God I did, because this was the last copy that Barnes & Noble had in stock. But it's got a 4K digital restoration on it, DTS sound. It's also got Dolby Vision on it, which is great, because I love Dolby Vision. Not that many special features on it, but you know, it's all right. Can't wait to finally check this out in its entirety. The next one I have shown off on here, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it's spine number 1218 from 2023, and it's Academy Award winner, Anatomy of a Fall. Everyone raved about this before the Academy Awards. Everyone raved about it after the Academy Awards, and I still haven't seen it because I wanted to. I know it's on streaming now, but I wanted to wait till Criterion put this out so I can add it to my collection. Yeah, I can't wait to finally check this out. And as for my last pickup this month, from 1996, spine 1220. I have never seen this. I've heard mixed things about this from some of my friends. I had one of my friends just say, why are you watching? Why did you buy that? But it's Criterion, and I love Criterion, and it's from the Wachowskis, and it is Bound. Again, I remember this when it first came out to theaters, but you know, around here, it didn't stay long. But I wanted to watch it. Didn't have a chance to because it didn't stay here long, and I just came out on video. I was like, nah, I lost interest in it. But once Criterion said they were going to do a 4K of it, I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a chance. And I like the Wachowskis. I mean, I like The Matrix, and I was a fan of Speed Racer, despite what everybody else says. I like Speed Racer. God, we need that on 4K. Can you imagine what that would look like on 4K? Speed Racer? Good God. Well, there's a ton of features in here. I mean, you've got interviews, you've got commentaries. It's just chock full of things. So I can't wait to check that one out. So that's it. There you have it. There are 17 titles that I picked up over this past month. But yeah, with Criterion, I only really pick up titles for Criterions in either July or November, whenever they go on, have the 50% off sale, unless it's really special, like Risky Business. I still need to pick up Risky Business. But that's it. That's all I got. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys think of what I picked up, and what did you guys pick up. So until next time, what are you watching today?